Hey mom, how's it going?
I'm good, Lindsay. I was just saying before we hit record that I think I might be having the most Monday-ish Wednesday I've ever had in my life. But other than that, I'm doing very, very well. I am super, super pumped to have one of my favorite people join us today. And if you have to have a Monday-ish Wednesday, why not end with people you love hanging out with, right? Like, I think
It's
that's
true.
probably a good thing. So, Landon Bentham from Callahan and Rice is joining us today. Landon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us today.
Happy to do it, and I'm glad I'm among your favorite people, and that I can make your Monday-ish Wednesday better by ending it with this. This is great.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Lindsay, how's your day going? I didn't even ask you. I got so excited because I'm looking at Landon's face that I forgot to ask you how your day's going.
That's okay. Coming back from an event, I don't know how you do this all the time because I feel like I had so much like follow up. People wanted resources or different things and today, and it has just taken me like a full day to get my feet back under me. But I feel like I'm all caught up now. I can start tomorrow on a clean to do list. Not really clean, but my actual to do list of things I need to do. But I'm super pumped for this conversation. This is a case study I've been wanting to write for a while now. And Landon agreed to do audio version for us so we can embed some audio in it. So I'm pumped. It's going to be
Yeah,
great.
well, let's.
Y'all are putting a lot of pressure on this talk, so we'll see where
Sorry,
this
Landon.
goes. But I'm excited to be here with you both. You both have been so great for me in the time that I've been in the industry, and so I'm excited just to talk with you both about it. Great,
Well, awesome. Let's jump in. So,
cool.
for those of you who don't know, you may have seen an article that was written from one of their local newspapers. But recently, Landon took over Callahan and Rice from his father-in-law, Mark Rice. So, we've been working on that for a period of time. So, huge congratulations to you,
Thank
Landon,
you.
for is your title president? Is that the
I
right
guess
title?
I guess that's what you can. I haven't. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, sure, that works.
People ask me my title all the time. I'm like, how about the one that cleans the bathroom? That is my title.
Yes.
Anyway, but I guess what I really want to do here, Landon, is lots of people talk about perpetuating internally. Lots of people have that aspiration. And if you don't have that aspiration and you're in an agency and your owner is approaching retirement age and you don't, like, you should have that aspiration. There's so much opportunity. But I'd love to talk about how did it go from an idea to a reality, and what was that journey like what are the things that had to happen in order for that to become a reality for you?
Man, there's a lot in that one question, Carrie. I feel like we could take up the whole time just talking through the timeline and all the little things that occurred and whatnot. First of all, I am extremely blessed to have a father-in-law that understands that the opportunities that are in front of us are for the next generation too. He took his risk 30 plus years ago, getting involved with an agency and purchasing it. And that has been his entire working career. And so I give him a ton of credit for building it to what it is. And then having the foresight and confidence to bring someone like myself in and kind of set me up to do more things with the agency. A lot of people wouldn't do that. I know a lot of stories where folks don't have that open of a relationship or don't have that kind of foresight. So first of all, I'm blessed to have that on my side. But the idea really came in the first few years of me being here. He didn't have a finalized plan on what he wanted to do in retirement or where things wanted to be, and he saw that I liked the industry and we were going some different directions, and I was bringing a few new ideas to the table that he accepted, and we pushed forward on. And so he said, "Hey, let's talk about what this looks like, not just next year, but let's talk about what this looks like in several years from now." And that definitely changed my perspective. I can remember the conversation like it was yesterday. Changed my perspective on where I was headed with it, and such an honor to come from him. My wife is an only child. So again, there's not any other family necessarily in the business. So it was a very humbling conversation. Yeah, I'm blessed by it every day still. So
So did he, I know that you joined the agency and you had some new ideas. Talk to me about, because that is the push-pull with a
Yeah,
current owner and a future owner.
Mhm.
And you probably came with ideas right away. Like, I know you, so I can make that statement about you. Like, you're an
sure,
ideas guy. There's no two ways around
sure.
that. How was that received at the beginning, or how did you go about creating the culture and understanding how to go about implementing some of those ideas? Was it just gangbusters at the beginning, or what did that look like?
No, I mean, I can give you some examples here too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, not a lot of times. I've seen stories, I've heard stories. I've seen people go through family business, and when someone in my type of a role, with an ascension to maybe be an owner one day, would just come in guns blazing and like,
Mm.
no, we need to do this, and this is the way we need to do it. Kind of really, what you're doing in that situation is you're fully leveraging the relationship to your benefit, not to the agencies, or not to the other parties who is your family, or just maybe the person that is owner currently. And so I very, very slowly and cautiously brought certain aspects that I knew that he would understand to his attention. One of the first ones I can remember is how we handled phone calls coming into the agency. Very simple. Everybody's that might be listening to this thing, well, that's easy. Well, 10 years ago, the phone would just ring throughout the agency. At the time, we were 5 to 6 people, and anybody would pick up. And their first comments were, we're all in the same office, so we hear it, were, we don't quote over the phone. I'm going to send you a PDF document that you will fill
Mm.
out and then fax it back to us. The word fax was used. And then once we get that information, we'll quote it and we'll give you a call. Well, obviously in today's world, that is not going to
Doesn't
work,
work.
right? That is
No.
not going to work. And that was the reality. And so I brought that to him and said, look, I'm sitting here. I'm trying to prospect. We're trying to find new leads. Let me talk to those people. It's going to give me some reps. I'm going to understand what their needs are. And let's see what happens. So we turned all the new business phone calls into one line, and that was mine. And I was dealing with those inquiries for quite some time, and that grew and grew and grew. And we saw some traction there, and then the proof was in the pudding. I mean, we were writing new business at a much steadier clip, and I was able to handle them because my role was sales. I wasn't doing as much service work as the rest of the agency was. And so that was the kind of the first example. I mean, I could have come in and flipped the tables and said, no, we've got to change this. We got to get rid of our fax machine. We've got to, XYZ. But it was a calculated, here's the information, you know, and my father-in-law's Mark. I said, Mark, this is something I think we should work on. We should work on. What do you think? He said, let's try it. Let's try it. And again, that's the benefit I have. Anybody that's listening to this, I want you to understand, like, I had on the other side of this, when I was bringing these ideas, I had someone who was very willing and ready to accept some of those changes. Though it maybe pushed him a little bit, he never let it show. But I also could tell and would know when to put my foot on the gas and when to sort of say, hey, maybe we just wait on that. So yeah,
You know,
examples like that happened throughout the last decade. Yeah,
Landon, you are describing my life right now a little bit. I mean, I just joined my family company, came
sure.
into a group of established professionals who are way more qualified than I am to be doing
Yeah,
some of the things that I'm doing. And sure, there are a couple things that I'm like, hey, mom,
yeah, sure.
maybe we could change this. Like, this probably isn't the best way we could be doing it. And some of it is like, yeah, Linz, that's a great idea. And some of it is like, sure, I can see how that would be an issue, but like absolutely not at the top of the pile of things to change. You're
Hmm.
describing my life in
Yeah, yeah.
very
To be fair,
straight
we don't use
detail.
a fax machine. Hang
Well,
on. To
that's
be
good. That's
fair,
good.
we do not
No
use a
fax
I'm
fax
machine.
glad
machine.
we're beyond that three-letter word. No, but
I
that's
completely
that
agree.
is the crux of the matter. I mean, let's just rewind all the way back, right? It's the strength of your relationship first that matters. And
Hmm.
so I was able to not only I was able to judge and understand kind of where I was at with that relationship with him, and just I had this sense of when I could and when I couldn't push too hard. And I made a few missteps, right? I made a few things like, hey, let's change this process with the way we handle something. And it it kind of was like, nah, maybe we shouldn't do that. So yeah, no, there were definitely opportunities, and I took them when it felt like I should. So,
Yeah.
but didn't go too far on it.
So I'm not yet to this stage. I'm asking you a question that's a future stage for myself. What was like the first steps you took into leadership, right? I'm eventually going to be there someday, probably a couple years in the future. Uh, what did that process look like for you?
So leadership, wow, that's a great question, Lindsay. So leadership is kind of twofold. There's apparent leadership, and there's
Mhm.
like this anointed leadership, right? Where you have a position, you have a title,
You've
and
been
people have to follow
indoctrinated.
what you're doing. And in this situation, it was sort of just me working in the agency and establishing myself as someone that was competent and knew everything about how the operation worked. And then I was trying to support as many people in their roles as I could. And that gave me the apparent leadership, or sometimes people call it the apparent authority, where people would start to come to me and ask me questions and start to say, hey, how should we handle this? Or how do you think we should do this? And so it was just, and this is over the course of years, Lindsay. This is over the course of a long period of time where it was just slowly people started to understand that, like, I'm part of this agency. He definitely understands what's going on, or at least I think I do. And so people started to come to me with their questions that you would consider probably like Landon was a leader in the agency at that point.
Right.
And I really focused heavily on sales and marketing. That was really my sort of box for a long time. And so I had a lot of authority in that area, and people obviously knew that that's what I was doing. So yeah, that was sort of my
Yeah.
path.
So Landon, what I'm getting from this and what I think people should hear is, even though it's a family dynamic, it was not a automatic, like you're in leadership, I'm elevating you immediately. There was time and trust and all kinds of, it was a
Yes,
thoughtful process. It was not an
it was.
overnight flip a switch. You are in the agency, and therefore, just because you're married to my daughter, therefore, like, I'm not suggesting that at all, but I think
Yeah,
sometimes you have a last name and therefore people assume that was just an automatic. It was an earned thing, correct?
has to be. And I
Yeah.
can't imagine it. I mean, I've heard of it happening the other way, the way you describe, where it's like, here comes son, here comes daughter, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's,
Right.
Right.
and I think that is, I don't know, I wouldn't have accepted that if that was the situation. But let me get in and try to earn my way through this, and earn the trust and respect of the individuals around me. I just, heard from someone that was here when I first started in a totally different circumstance, unrelated to insurance at all. And just the name of that person, she was here for a very long time. She knew insurance really well. She taught me so much about how it works, how this business operates. And her role in our agency was a service agent. Like, and that's what she did. And she did it so well. And I learned so much from her. I heard her name the other day. Her name is Janet. And I was like, man, I haven't heard that name in forever, but like, I probably owe her a thank you note
Yeah.
for sure. Like the things that she taught me in that time when I was sort of coming up, the first 3-4 years of working in this business, those are invaluable lessons. Yeah.
So walk us through, you've earned the trust, you've decided, yes, I want to move forward. Mark has decided, yes, I think we want to move forward. What did that process look like at that point? Like, how do you get from the idea to we're going to make this baby happen?
I call agency focus first, because you didn't pay me to say that, but
I
I
was
mean,
like,
I will
whoa,
say
wasn't expecting that, but
no,
okay.
no, no. So I'm a huge believer in coaches. Okay. I've been coached throughout my life, and there were periods of time in my life when I wasn't as receptive to coaching. Maybe I had a chip, or I thought I could handle it myself, or whatever. But as I started to hire coaches in my life, this was everything from physical training to finance, to not necessarily personal development, but like business acumen and stuff like that. Like, just get mentorship somewhere, because you don't know what you don't know. Someone has gone through it. And so what it looked like for me was I just tapped the shoulder of people that I knew that had bought businesses and worked through family situations like this. And, I have some friends that I worked with on that. That was invaluable feedback, because that gives me more patience. It gave me more direction. So yeah, I mean, we can talk the technical side of it too, Carrie, if you want, but that's really what it was about for me. It was about getting the right people, the coaches in place to help me through it, and that was great.
Well, I actually want to talk about the last thing you said because patience is a virtue, period.
Mm. Yeah.
We could just, that could be the title of this podcast, to be quite honest, but it's hard to be patient when you see your future right in front of you. But there's a definite process to go through. And sometimes the process doesn't move as fast as you think it should. Sometimes it moves faster than you want it to. Like there's a lot of things to be said in that if you have the right people around you, they can help you temper what your expectations are and what the expectations of others are. I don't know if
100%.
that's I think the technical things, like we can list it out. You have to actually come up with what the price is. You have to come up with who the lawyer is. You have to come up with the agreement, like all that stuff can do. And you could read a book on that. But what you can't read is what is the practical application of some of those things and what you have to go through as the incoming owner. I would love to hear your thought process on that.
Yeah. It's easy to start spinning down a path of assumptions,
There you
right?
go.
And that can happen with anybody. And like, well, what does he really want to do, or why isn't he giving me this yet, or what? And some of that happened with me. It's like, well, gosh, I feel like this should be moving faster. Or what was that about? Why didn't that happen? And it was really the coaches that told me, go talk to him, you know,
Mm.
go just have an open conversation about what the process looks like and see where that leads, and ask some questions. And so I would take some time and I would write down my top 3 most important and pressing questions right now. Like, again, how do we value it? What is a reasonable timeline? Do we need to build in flexibility for that timeline? And the questions would just change as time goes on. I understand certain pieces of it. We'd add more questions, and then we'd go and talk about it again. And I had to sort of lead through that process too. I had to take the initiative to go, and a lot of times I was guilty of waiting for that to come to me. And again, people coaching me were saying, you gotta go talk. You have to go talk to them. So it was unnerving at times, but every time we left a conversation about the perpetuation, about this business, we both left feeling like we are both on the same page. We both have the same vision, at least that we want to see a successful legacy built here. And so we were there. It's just a matter of how we did it. And then that gave me comfort. I was good for like, okay, we're good for a couple months. I'm fine. Like I had that convo, I'm good. And then the cycle would start again and more questions would pop up.
Yeah. So, and it's what I want people to hear though, that's hard. If you
Mm,
didn't have someone nudging you to do that and you allowed your brain to go on the assumptions, it can actually derail something. And the reality is your assumptions may not be reality.
correct.
Like that's the side of this that I think is unfortunate because if
Yeah.
your timeline and the exiting owner's time frame were different and you didn't take the time to talk through it and understand it, the reality is it's tough to let go of something you've built, even if you
Yeah.
trust the person implicitly. And it's also hard to step in and do things differently than someone who's still remaining there. Like there's a lot to this whole thing, and none of it is any fault of anyone other than change has to be an evolution, not just what someone else did. Like you can't look to someone else. So you're now in the seat, right? So tell everybody what that looks like now. So
Yeah.
what is Mark doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And what does all that look like today?
Yeah, so Mark is still working in the agency. He is handling a certain segment and division of our company still, and it's a smaller section and division of our company, but it's one that he very much understands, and so he handles that very well. And we're working on getting him more support so that he can continue to roll back his time in the agency. That's his intention. His guidance and wisdom and expertise and all those years of experience is invaluable to us as we move forward. So he's here. He's doing his thing. I was in an acting agency manager role for the last 3 years leading up to this transition, which happened on January 1st of 2025. As of the time of this recording, which is the 26th of February, I can tell you that I have never been more exhausted in my life. And I thought that I knew that what I was getting into. I mean, we've been running the agency together, very much sharing in responsibilities, but it is a different weight. And I'm not just saying this to say this. Like, I want your guests to understand, like, this is reality. Like, I'm going home. I told my wife the other night, I was like, I don't know what got into me. I'm usually boundless energy, but I am wiped out. And I think that's because I have so much concern and care for the people that I work with. I want to make sure we're making the right choices. And so I'm constantly working through problems in my mind. And that's a me thing. That's not an everybody thing. That's a me thing,
That's
right?
an owner thing, just so you know.
Yeah, sure. So maybe that is part of it, right? So I am leading teams. I have started a sort of a leadership development program within the agency that is I'm being coached through that. Again, a coach is a big thing, but I'm trying to operate the agency in a little bit more of an efficient way so that we can raise up leaders here. I mean, I was doing a lot of that stuff before I got in this chair. And as I move into this chair and there's other things obviously hitting me vis-a-vis my exhaustion, I need other people to help me. And so I've learned that very early on, I've got to start to delegate more and get more people of trust around me. And so we've been going through a process that's been very, very healthy, new freshening up our core values, freshening up our purpose and our vision, making sure that our community impact is known to our people here so that we're not just coming to work, punching a clock and going home. I want this to be a place that people feel like they want to be as most as they can, And so that's what's been keeping me very engaged at all hours of the day. Yeah.
Landon, you said that you are trying to freshen up and run incredibly efficiently. So what does that
Yes.
mean to you that you're running efficiently? Like what's on the vision board there?
Great question. It starts with getting everybody on the same sheet of music. And that means, what do we stand for? What is our just cause? Like, why are we here? The purpose behind it. And I'm not trying to get all pie in the sky with this, but it's just that is important. If that's not solidified and everybody's towing the same way, you're going to have interoffice conflict. You're going to have inefficiencies that develop. This isn't my job. This is yours, and all that stuff. I'm trying to tear down whatever walls have been put up. And there's not a lot. Mark ran a great operation. But in any leadership transition, there's stuff that forms up, right? So it's trying to just get all of that organized, get us going the same direction, and then incrementally make some adjustments. Working with my fractional CFO and helping me understand where I can push a little bit on the budget and where I can deploy some more resources to help us shore up some inefficiencies in the office. And so we're trying to add some staff. As long as my CFO says it's okay, we're going to try to add some more staff, and then we'll continue down the road.
Yeah, I think that I think what you said though is it brings me to, I used to have someone who worked with me who she would sit in meetings and we would talk about things. But once I wasn't there, like she was leading that meeting and I wasn't there, it's different. It's a different level of pressure. It's a different level of responsibility. It's just a different level. And it didn't matter. I was still in the building, but it was now her. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a different, I would say, you don't know until you're sitting there what that feels like. And it's almost like another person loses a spouse or loses a parent and you feel for them. But then when you go through it yourself, it's completely different experience. And you reflect on that and say, I'm not sure I fully understood what you were going through. Same thing when you step into an owner's role, it looks different when it's not your decision. So I love that you're starting to not I don't love that you're exhausted at all, but I do
Well,
love that
I'd say
realization. You
exhausted.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say exhausted. I'm not looking for any pity parties out there for this. So that anybody listening to this, don't take it that way. I was just trying to be real with y'all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's been a tiring couple months. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel though. We've got some
Yeah.
things going the right way.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah.
I think that that's something important to tell everyone because I've had some agency owners that are transitioning to the next generation. It's a 3-generation agency and they bought
Mm-hmm.
it from their parent and now they are transitioning to their son or daughter. They're typically what they say is, I don't think I was very empathetic during that process. And now that I'm sitting here, it's a different viewpoint. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just a different, I didn't realize what my dad was struggling with as he was letting go, but now that I want to move into it, and I think you have a really good understanding of what that is because it doesn't always move as fast as you think it should. It doesn't always go exactly the way that you think it should, but we do get there, you know? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you learn really quickly. And this team that I have here has been unbelievable and their support. And I think that comes from the years of me, again, earning that trust, going back to those people that helped me get started. And so, yeah, to your point, I mean, there's a different weight because now those people are not just our team is not just teammates of mine. It's people that I'm responsible for in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And it's like, man, we got to do this right. And how can I possibly get my arms? I mean, that's one of the reasons we started to establish a different leadership structure around here, is because, I mean, I can't get my arms around, 14 direct reports. That's almost impossible.
That's a lot of
So
direct
trying
reports.
to
Yeah.
divide some of that up and that process, and coaching everybody through that process, that's change and that disrupts things. So yeah, that's nail on the head. It's the people around me and their support for me that I care about.
Well, Landon, to wrap up here, if you can think back on your process, what's one piece of advice you would give to an agency owner in your similar position?
Well, you mean someone getting ready to perpetuate?
Mhm.
I would say, if you haven't already figured it out from what I've said, don't go in and try to flip the tables. If you go in and try to just tell it like it is, and I know that it could be your dad or your uncle, and you went to ball games together, and there's this deep connection, and so you can easily see yourself just fully leveraging that for you. You have
Mhm.
to remember that though that person loves you very much, like, they are also their livelihood is built on what you're getting ready to step into, and they want to make sure you're ready. And so be a diplomat, be a diplomat, start to
I like it.
understand their perspective, start to understand what they've done, have that, voice that to them, acknowledge hey, I know this is hard. How can I help? Or let me tell you, how can I help you? Basically, that's where you got to start. And I think if you do that, you'll have very fruitful discussions. And even though it's your dad or your mom or whoever, your in-laws, your uncle, whoever it is you're buying it from,
Mhm.
you'll have those really impactful moments and conversations that lead to some good stuff.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. If we haven't already said it in this episode, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
When we met like 4 or 5 years ago, I think that's when you and I met for the first time. Incredibly respected you and have been looking forward to this day when you eventually became owner of Callahan Rice. So it's exciting time to see it actually come to fruition and happen.
Thanks. Well, the support from you and your mother, Carrie, has been instrumental in that process. So any guest out there that wants to talk to me about about just this whole process, please
Yeah.
look me up. I'm happy to talk one-on-one with you about anything you might be struggling with and give you any advice that I might have. So
Yeah.
there
Perfect.
you
Well,
go.
thank you, Landon. I appreciate you coming on and talking to us, and I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.